BRB UK. Worse teeth, better accents.
Hello. Sorry, there was some residual Christmas in my system there. Hello, and indeed ahoy hoy. Welcome back after this festive period, after the festive break, to BRB UK episode 617. My name is Dan, I'm one of your hosts. Hello. Hope you're all doing great. Hope you're all enjoying your prezzies. Hope the your cats are enjoying the boxes the prezzies came in. And welcome back to us. Yay. I'm joined, as ever, by my two moderately talented, on average, between the two of them. One of them has the talent, the other one, Coleman's over there. Hello, Coleman.
Hi.
And then there's Tim.
Hello.
There we go. On average, between the two of them, talented. So how was your Christmas, chaps?
I mean, in this world, it's definitely actually happened.
In this multiverse that we're in at the moment, yes.
By the time you hear this episode, I will be on a beach in Thailand. So
nice.
Fairly good.
Nice.
I think.
Don't drink the cheap booze.
And I'll be married.
I've seen that.
You'll be married?
Yes, I'm eloping over Christmas.
Right.
Oh.
Yes.
Eloping.
Yes.
Eloping. Eloping.
Yeah,
we're off to Vegas to get married.
Right.
Go Gretna Green, it's cheaper.
All right, get Gretna Greens again. All right, this bit's dead. Let's carry on.
Wow. So anyway, as we often do at this time of year, we have a little. We were going to do a little bit of a look back on the news of 2024, but promptly discovered it was chuffing miserable.
It's grim.
So what we're actually going to do is do a little look back on the ones that we recommended you watched for 2024, which is something we do every single year. Just to see, some of them serious, some of them not so much, as you may realise as I rattle my three off. So, Tim.
Yes.
Your ones to watch for the year that just was. You have Plucky Squire, which was released. Congratulations. Rise of the Ronin, also released. Congratulations. And Star Wars Outlaws, also released. So 3 for 3, Tim. All three of your games actually released. So how do you think you did?
Yeah, pretty good. I liked all three of them. I would say the first one, the one we got on video at the moment, is Plucky Squire. And I liked that game, and there's elements of it I loved, but I think fell slightly short of the greatness it kind of promised. I don't know if it just took a bit too long to actually get here from like announcement to actual release. But yeah, it wasn't perfect, but I thought it was pretty good. And yeah, it was a fun, enjoyable game. It had some really nice elements to it, and it's a game I had fun with. So yeah, I was quite pleased with that one overall. Right?
I think it kind of
good.
I think it was pretty good. I mean, if anything, I kind of felt it slightly overstayed its welcome a little bit. I think it was like, oh, cool, right. So you're kind of in 2D, 3D. And then it didn't really do much else with that. I kind of think it probably could have been. I actually think it was a game that would have benefited from being a little bit shorter, in my humble opinion.
I fell off that game way too quick, but I might come back to it and see how it goes.
It's worth
I like the style.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the style. I just didn't have I don't know what it was. So just something wasn't registering with me for some reason.
Yeah, I think it was slightly style over substance a little bit. Like, I think the visual side of it and the kind of presentation side was a bit head and shoulders above the actual gameplay kind of thing, which was a bit of a shame, but it's the only thing that let it down. I thought it was a decent game and reasonable fun. So yeah, it was okay.
Yeah. I mean, the other extreme is substance over style, which is bran flakes, last time I checked. So more fun than bran flakes. I think we can say that much.
Box quote.
What about next game, Tim?
There is a box quote. You're welcome.
Rise of the Ronin. I don't know how well it sold. I think they said it sold okay.
Four copies.
It was a bit of a kind of poor man's Ghost of Tsushima, and I think that is a little thing that stuck with it, but possibly it might have helped sell it a bit as well. But it did. I think it did enough of its own thing to kind of create enough different memories from that game. It's not one that I've stuck with to the finish, which I'm disappointed on. It's kind of quite high up in my pile of shame. I would like to finish it at some point because I really enjoyed my time with it. And it's quite a dense, big game, which is possibly the only reason I didn't really finish it. But I enjoyed the kind of main quests and stuff. I enjoyed some of the like open world setting and just the general side missions and stuff, which were all of pretty good quality. Combat was good and enjoyable. The traversal was really good, and the world building was good, and the acting and everything else. Like it, all round quality. If it's one you haven't tried, it's definitely worth picking up, especially if you were a fan of Ghost of Tsushima and didn't pick up Rise of the Ronin. It's probably quite a bit cheaper now, and going into Christmas, it will be a good one to keep you busy over the Christmas period, or the end of the holiday period that it is now, basically. And yeah, I enjoyed it possibly more than some, but I still think it's a highly recommendable game, basically.
Highly recommendable.
Highly recommendable, so says Tim.
Yes.
Right.
The man
And
with
then-
the face.
Last, but probably not least then, was Star Wars
Yeah.
Outlaws for you, which I think probably out your three
Mm.
is, again, I'm not sure this is necessarily the best game per se, but in terms of the kind of the Star Wars fantasy and just inhabiting that world, I kind of think the level of fit and finish on the way the game
Yeah.
was presented was pretty stunning.
And some would argue that it's got a similar kind of thing that I said about Plucky Squire, like style over substance a
Yeah.
little bit. And I can understand how other people haven't taken to the combat in this game, but I've never really had a problem with it. Like it's been patched and supposedly fixed and updated, but to be honest, like I never had a problem with it even before the patch. Like it's not perfect in places. Speed of combat still needs a bit of fixing, and there's a few other things to do, but especially as you go throughout the game and unlock more combat abilities and other stuff as well, that kind of offsets any of the shortcomings anyway. But just the world building again, and the kind of just the kind of, I've never had a Star Wars game make me feel like I'm in the Star Wars universe as much as this game has. And I'm high on my Star Wars at the moment, partly because of my favorite game of the year, which we'll come on to later possibly, but not actually being a video game, but a Star Wars game. But this is probably my favorite video game of the year, partly because I'm just so into my Star Wars at the moment, but also because it just did a fantastic job of making me feel like I was in that world. I think, as we discussed on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, and I was talking about the DLC as well, which is, I think this is the only game I've bought DLC for in the last couple of years, so that should speak volumes about that in any case anyway. Oh, apart from Street Fighter. But yeah, like it's a fantastic world that I just want to spend more time in, and happy to do so. And yeah, really enjoyed it. And yeah, I'm again not one that I finished, but only because I've got distracted, gone off and done the DLC, gone off and done other side quests. But definitely one. This is top of my list to try and finish over the Christmas period, over the holiday period, and actually get finished before the end of the year or early in the year. And this will be one that I'm definitely persevering with until the end, basically, because I just really love the game. So yeah.
Nice.
I loved it. I did the review for the site. It's 8.5 I gave it. I really like the game. I love the game. I love the story. I love the characters and just the way it plays and everything about it. The only downgrade I really gave it was it's another game that's out on consoles that can't handle consoles, or consoles can't handle it. So you get that blurriness to it. You get, it takes you out a little bit, but then you got to, I guess after a while, you kind of trick your brain into sort of ignoring the blurriness and the problems with the game, and then you're fine as it goes on. But you shouldn't have to
I
do
personally
that.
went to an optician.
Yeah, can I
Well,
interest
you spend,
in a PlayStation Pro?
No.
Yet again,
Not for
Tim,
those
is fantastic financial advice coming to the fore.
I mean, I didn't buy one.
It's an investment.
I haven't had a major problem with it on PS5, but
Well, I was playing it on PS5 and I did have a problem with it. It looks blurry and it makes the frame rate bump down.
Well, I had a problem. Well, I didn't have a problem with it. Well, I had a problem with it. I didn't like it. It was very blurry. I didn't like it. No, I was
We'll get to that later. We'll get to that later.
Handbag. Gee, put your handbags away, Coleman and Tim.
It's a major problem to me with the modern generation of games where they go, okay, here's a cool game, £70. By the way, it doesn't look great.
I think it looks great, but anyway.
Oh,
It could look
don't!
better.
What do you two just leave it? Leave it. You both like
I don't
Star
think-
Wars.
I don't
Can we
think
agree
I'm-
on
I don't
that?
think
You
I'm
both
being
like Star
crazy.
Wars.
No,
Yeah,
no.
I don't think I'm being crazy for saying it.
Ah,
And actually, I don't really. like
can't
Star
we just
Wars
have
that
a
much
bit of
these
peace
days.
and love and agreement this time here? It's
Far
all
too
I
much.
want.
People are allowed opinions, Dan, and opinions
They
may
are,
differ.
but I just don't like it when you two fight. That's all.
We're not
Just don't
fighting.
like it.
What's yours,
Ruining
Dan?
Christmas.
Come on.
All right, my three. All three of which released kind of. I think kind of. We'll call early
No,
access.
it works.
Kind of.
Early access still wins.
So
I'm not
my
sure
three
Skull
were.
and Bones counts, but
Yeah, okay. So, right, first of all, 2 of them were serious, 1 of them was full of lols, okay? Just because I thought it'd be entertaining just to watch the dumpster fire that was going to kick off. So the first of my 3 was Angerfoot. This is a game that I really, really love when it releases as a demo, I think back in Steam Indie Fest or Steam Fest in 2023. Finally got released. Now, again, its kind of core mechanic was kind of a bit of a Twitch high-paced shooter where you've got to use melee combat and then if you can get guns off your enemies, guns to shoot people down. It's all about kind of really quick reactions. Has a great soundtrack, and everything's kind of thumping along to that soundtrack. Again, I think it's a little bit like Plucky Squire insofar as it had one mechanic, which, yes, was fun. Yes, was really kind of quite visceral. But did it perhaps go on a little longer than it needed to? Maybe, I think is the way I'll do it. It did try and kind of keep things spicy with kind of additional kind of sneakers that you could unlock, additional trainers that kind of gave you additional powers or
Sneaky.
power-ups or stuff like that. Yes, I'm a child of the 90s, deal with it. That I thought did help. I think it was a perfectly fun game. I think it did kind of give that slightly larger than life, over the top feel that it desperately needed. But again, it just kind of had that little something missing from it. But it's always good to see indie titles do really well, and that's what I was really pleased to see it do as well as it did. It's still a great fun game. I recommend you check it out. So second up in my list of things was the spiritual successor to Dead Cells insofar as Motion Twin did it, and that is Windblown. So this is the kind of isometric co-op hack and slash roguelitey thing, which came out in early access in October, I believe. Obviously, this game still got quite a lot of kind of fit and finish to go, but the core gameplay of it is fantastic. A lot of kind of, much like with Dead Cells, it's all about the variety and the weapons that you pick up, trying to kind of find that perfect build as you go through these randomized levels. It's got the permanent set of unlocks as you would expect, alongside kind of, increasing the odds of the weapons you find and the quality of them in the levels you play through. Great level design, great character design. Just got a little bit more to go before it's ready for prime time, but that's kind of why I suppose it's out in early access at the moment. I think it's a corking little game. I haven't had a chance to play much in the way of kind of co-op, which I'd love to do with anyone who's listening. But it is
totally
just
ignoring
a real kind of pick up and just want to have another one more go. You feel like you want to sneak one more run in all the time. So I think this is going to be great when it hits 1.0 in 2025. But yeah, corking game.
Good Steam Deck game. And those are developers that have shown us with the previous Dead Cells that they do take the feedback on board quite heavily for early access stuff. So I'm looking forward to see how the finished project pans out.
Yep. I think it's going to be a corker. And then, because I thought it'd be funny, Skull and Bones, what a dumpster fire that game was. Can't believe that.
But technically came out.
Yep.
Technically, it did finally come out. But man, what a dumpster fire of a game. I cannot believe it's still online.
Yeah, and supported a lot.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know.
They're on like season 6 or something. They just constant every now and then, because I subscribe to Ubisoft on YouTube, and every now and then I just see it's For Honor and Skull and Bones that they're constantly putting content out for. That I go, really? That's still going.
Yep. Skull and Bones. Current players 272. It's 24-hour
Nice.
peak, 292 on Steam. So
Nice. Yeah. Did we all give this a go? Because they were giving away like 8 hours or something stupid like that for free.
No, you
It
reported
was-
back on it, and it put me off it enough to not bother.
I think we should have done
Yeah.
it together. But it just made me sad. If we played this together and hadn't been playing Sea of Thieves together, I would have just got really upset.
yeah. Yeah.
Let's just play Sea of Thieves.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's the thing. I mean, it's done a
I
great
say
job.
it every year.
If you want a good pirate game, this is not it. Go and play Sea of Thieves. It's a great appetite. It's a great kind of. It's a bit like, remember in the 80s and 90s when Pepsi were trying to make everyone be convinced they were at least as good, if not better, than Coca-Cola. Skull and Bones is very much the Pepsi to Sea of Thieves Coca-Cola.
Weren't they both announced
I
at a
prefer
very
Pepsi.
similar time, and everyone
You're wrong.
thought that this was going to be the better of the two games as well?
Yes. Sea of Thieves was announced a year before Skull and Bones, but then when it was gearing up for the release of Sea of Thieves, they announced Skull and Bones the same E3,
Scalabones.
and all the discourse online was, wow, this looks way more fun than Sea of Thieves is going to be, because Sea of Thieves looks really empty and bare. And when it came out, a lot of people said it was really empty and bare.
And it was,
But
to be fair.
they updated it very quickly and started adding more stuff. That seems to be what's going on here. It's just that no one wants to play it,
Yeah,
except for 217 people on Steam.
Well, and do you remember kind of it did have the pedigree when it was announced of like, wow, everyone really loved the kind of the ship combat in Black Flag, and people were like, yeah, more of that, please, because that was the best part of that game.
But hey, did you like Black Flag? Here's a worse version of it with features taken out.
Yeah.
But it's online, so that's good, isn't it?
Yeah. So there we go. So that was one I watched and cackled incessantly from the guidelines sidelines as I watched it.
Speaking of watching and cackling,
Yes.
it's time for my picks.
Yeah, it is.
Ooh.
Coleman's curse strikes again with my
Yay.
first pick. I went for Replaced, which just looks amazing, but got put up for
To be
next
fair, it
year.
looks great. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks great. It's got that kind of flashback or another world style to it. It's that 2D puzzle platformer that harkens back to the Amiga style that I love so very, very much. But the style behind this thing is absolutely brilliant. It's got that 2D, 3D kind of what's the word I'm looking for?
Aesthetic.
Sure, we'll go for aesthetic. I was actually thinking
Parallax?
something completely different, but it's okay. We'll go for that. Yes. But yes, it's. I've said it many times. I am a sucker for pixel art, and and a lot of the times when someone goes, "Here's a retro game that's got pixel art," you look at it and go, "But pixel art got a lot better than this. Like, this is not how our games looked." So when stuff like this comes out, I love the idea of pushing pixel art and showing like what it could have been, and if we just kept going down that route, and it looks awesome. It's got that kind of weird sort of Soviet / Blade Runner aesthetic to it that I'm really looking forward to when this comes out.
Well, what I quite like is the way it kind of augments the pixel art style. And I know this isn't quite the right comparison, but in the same way that Octopath Traveler did, where it kind of took that very much that nod back to the pixel art style, but took it up another level with just very subtle, more modern rendering and lighting techniques, which I think really lift it to the next level. But
diorama,
it doesn't try and
that's what I
overdo
wanted
it.
to say. It's got a kind of diorama style to it, where it looks like it's a kind of a view box that you're looking inside to multiple layers, 2D layers to kind of create this image. It's awesome. I'm hoping it's awesome. It looks great. My next pickup was probably unsurprisingly Tekken, Tekken 8, because Tekken 7, me and Tim did that in preview. We played it a fair bit when it came out, and then I kind of put it to the wayside for a bit and then got really into it towards the end of its life, especially in lockdown. Did a lot of online fighting in Tekken. So the announcement of Tekken 8 and the video, if you're watching the video version of this, where they show all the bulging muscles and the lightning effects and stuff, I was like, this looks cool. This looks like the next-gen game that we've been waiting for, and I was very excited. So yeah, this caught all my attention, and we'll talk about that a bit later.
The single player was
You
very
tease.
cinematically pleasing in its presentation as well. No, like
I was really hoping you were going to say cinematically cinematic, Tim. You let me down.
Good games
Sorry
are
to
good.
disappoint
Bad games are bad.
Yeah.
Did you
Why
play
come
this?
with that incisive opinion of Hibbs?
I played the demo, and
Okay.
I meant to pick it up at some point, but just never got around to it. I might try and borrow a few at some point if that's okay.
I don't know. I am playing it at the moment, so
Well, when you're not playing it at some point and you're playing something
I'll wait
else.
till you're
In the
deeply
middle of the
engrossed in-
night.
Yeah, I'll wait till you're deeply engrossed into Indiana Jones and see if you want to borrow it. And
Oh.
you'll be like, no, I'm playing Indiana Jones and I can't.
But I love indie.
The other one, which spoiler alert, it will not be on my game of the year
Boo.
list this year. But I was very excited for this
Spoilers.
after Final Fantasy VII Remake came out and just absolutely hit me in all the feels. And we've spoken about on the show the idea of remake. It's not a remake of Final Fantasy VII. It's the world of Final Fantasy VII remade. Take of that what you will, but it all ends weird. And I was really looking forward to what the sequel was going to bring. And it was just very, very exciting. But so there's many different arguments I've seen for this. It's one, they kind of turned it into an open world game. A lot of people didn't like that because you don't want that. A lot of people didn't like the sheer amount of mini games that were in there. A lot of people didn't like the card game that was in there. I liked all of those things. It was, again, the same issue as Star Wars Outlaws for me, which was especially worse in this situation because this is a PlayStation 5 exclusive game and it launched on the PlayStation 5 and it didn't perform well on the PlayStation 5 because it didn't look very good on the PlayStation 5 because the hardware can't display the software, which is something they seem to be fixing with the PlayStation 5 Pro. But this game came out.
Happens to all of us sometimes.
Can I interest
Yeah.
Sarah
But
in a
too much to
PlayStation
drink.
5 Pro?
Exactly, but I'm not buying
No.
a PS5 Pro, so I can play this game. I'm going to suffer through the blurriness when I finally it just ended up sitting on my pile of shame for a bit, and now I've cleared some other games off. I'll get to this in my Christmas break, but yeah, it was very disappointing, and especially like you can say, okay, the PlayStation 5 Pro is available, so you can play this. This game came out like February, like you had to wait nearly a year to get this game to perform correctly. So yeah, it's a miss for me, unfortunately.
Womp,
So,
womp.
Our games of the year.
Yes.
I got a feeling we could skip a few of Tim's now because he's basically reviewed them already.
Yeah.
But
Go
yes,
for it, Tim.
Tim, do you want to say your games of the year?
I will mention two things before I go into the list very quickly. One, that I kind of gave what I think is probably my game of the year to Dan's list, and we'll come on to that in a minute. But then also, my absolute favorite game of the year was not a video game, I'm afraid. It was Star Wars Unlimited, which I have got very addicted to, started playing in tournaments and things, and we'll be playing
Every
a lot
year
more
he does
next
this.
year. But yeah, like
We'll talk about something completely different.
as I said, Star Wars Outlaws was probably, apart from the game I gave to Dan to say him to talk about, is probably my favorite game of the year. Really enjoyed it. That was really good. Rise of the Ronin makes my list as well. And then we don't know this yet, and we'll probably try and remember it when it rolls around to next year. But Indiana Jones has a strong contender for getting on my list last minute.
December games go to the next year.
Yeah. But what has snuck
For
in
ease of
for now,
recording.
which was actually technically a December game, but has already come out and have been playing a bit of this weekend and hadn't had a chance to talk about it on the show previously, but might talk about a bit more in the show that we're recording later this week, but you'll have heard a couple of weeks ago now. But that's Behemoth. And I've been playing that on PSVR 2. It's not faultless. There are a few, I wouldn't necessarily say bugs, but more like glitches than bugs. And I think when those things are ironed out, I think this game is destined for greatness. I think it is a very good VR title, even in its current state. But
Would you
could
think it would perform better on a PlayStation 5 Pro, Tim?
No, I don't think that's the issue. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think it's a performance issue. I think there's a few things with the AI that could be ironed out. A few like just actual glitches with like sound not loading and stuff like that. I'll come on to a few more of those things when I talk about it on the podcast that you'll have already heard by this time. But in terms of just a VR game that's made for the ground up for VR, and you can very much tell that, this is a really good kind of example of that sort of game. It's borrowed from a few like kind of high points of video gaming in general. It's made by the people that made Saints and Sinners.
Yay.
It's
Skydance Studios make good games.
Skydance Studios. And so they know what they're doing in the VR space as well. But it borrows from a few really good sources. Shadow of the Colossus being the kind of obvious one because you're battling these big behemoths or colossi. But then it also kind of takes a few pointers out of God of War and stuff like that with the kind of axe throwing type things, although it's more sword throwing in this. And a kind of bow and arrow and stuff as well. But yeah, like you can tell it's made from the ground up for VR by people that really know what they're doing in VR, and it shows. And as I said, a couple of glitches and technical things aside, I think this is a really, really good game. So I've been really enjoying it so far. I'll hopefully get time to play a little bit more before we talk about it on the podcast coming up. But I definitely think it makes sense for me to have a VR game on my list as well. But it kind of snuck in there with a couple of provisos. But I do think it's a really good game. So definitely one worth checking out. It's on other things other than PSVR 2 as well. But that's the one where I've been playing it. But yeah, definitely worth checking out in VR in general.
I'll just quickly mention this. There's a physical version of the game that's coming out, but not till February, I think,
Right.
2025. So if there's technical things to be fixed within the game, then it might be worth waiting for the physical version because you can probably get it cheaper than the digital version.
Quite possibly. There was a day one patch and they've already had another update since that point as well, basically. But they are fixing things actively. And so it was probably better than a lot of reviewers had. And I didn't have some of the issues that they had in previews. But there's still a few things I think need to be ironed out. It seems like it was slightly rushed for release, but still.
I'll wait a bit, but I'm looking forward to it. When you mentioned it, when we were talking about it on the show, and I said, I'll look back at this when I'm editing, and I did, and I went, oh, bloody hell, that looks amazing. I can't wait to try that.
Really does.
So I'll wait till it's had the kinks ironed out a bit, but I'll give that a go. It looks amazing. Star Wars, Outlaws, Rise of the Ronin, Behemoth. Not a bad selection of games.
Yeah.
What you got, Dan?
Yeah, I must admit, I have to say thank you to you both for very generously letting me steal some, because I've had a bit of a time-poor year where I haven't managed to play as many games as I would have liked. So, Tim, as you've alluded to, one of the
Destiny
ones that...
2.
No, actually, Destiny 2, not at all. I was told that expansions weren't allowed.
They are not allowed.
Unlike
Not
certain
allowed.
Game Awards. Not allowed. So I
Shadow
went...
of the...
My first one is Balatro, Tim, just because you did. That is such a corking game. That is such a sleeper hit, and I think just perfectly distills the essence of roguelikes down to its most basic form and just absolutely knocks it out the park with that kind of the randomness of kind of poker, but really kind of subverting that by trying to break the rules of the game altogether. I just think it's wonderful. Every run truly feels different. It's a bloody hard game. I think I've only actually managed to kind of complete a run like 4 or 5 times, but when you do, everything just lines up for you. You've got the right jokers, you've upgraded the right hands, you really learn what the kind of you understand how you approach the game as well. It's just absolutely fantastic. And there's just something that really just tickles the kind of the lizard part of your brain where you just are forever chasing, watching big numbers get bigger. That always is fun. But yeah, risk reward, a really satisfying implementation of poker, some real creative modifiers to how things are played, and its price as well. All of these things together make Balatro an absolute no-brainer. It's also out on mobile now as well. I spent far too long sat on the toilet playing this game. I now walk like I've been doing a 14-hour ride on a horse every time I stop playing Balatro due to the massive piles I now have swinging from my anus. So there we go. There's a box quote for you. That's Balatro. We'll give you piles, but my God, it's worth it.
I
Balatro.
think it's my game of the year as well. Like, it's seriously good. For a tiny little game, it packs a lot into it, and really, really well designed, and really, really fun. I could play it forever, I think, and possibly will.
It really has that just one more go thing to it. And a run that you think has just been 5 minutes, you look at the clock and it's like nearly an hour has gone by as you're trying to work out what all the right strategies are. And it's just a great game, just a great game. Another great game, and I have to thank Coleman for A, lending me this, and B, letting me put this on my list. Astro Bot. I think that's going to come as no surprise to anybody. This is what little Dan, when he was a young'un, playing video games, just enjoying the quirkiness, the creativity of the way things are. Yeah, that Dan,
right
younger
there.
than that Dan, if you're... just the absolute sheer joy and love and care this game has put together. It's not the hardest game, but it's got a lot of style, a lot of fun, doesn't take itself too seriously, is kind of cutesy without being annoying, has some great kind of ways it kind of messes with its own gameplay, like the bot modifiers you can get for yourself, or the awesome little throwbacks to kind of retro Sony titles, both kind of subtle and overt in terms of the bots you encounter along the way, and some of the really quite challenging bits of platforming you get with some of the kind of bonus levels as you're looking to kind of complete the roster of your bots. Just great. A game that just feels like a big old hug, just loads of fun. Haven't had a single bad moment with it. Graphically, it's fantastic as well. It kind of doesn't. It's very subtle in the graphical bells and whistles it pulls together, but it's just again a great game, and kind of took me back to feeling a little bit younger when games were just fun and didn't take themselves too seriously and just concentrated on getting the core mechanics right. And what a wonderful game.
I can't wait for you to get to the end of this game. Not to rush for it, but once you get to the end, because it is an amazing sequence at the end. I loved Astro Bot. Unfortunately, I had COVID when I got my hands on this, but I was able to. Didn't mean I was bedridden just playing Astro Bot for 3 days solid and getting the platinum on it. I gave it a 9 in the review. I think I only marked this down for the lack of post game content, but there is stuff being patched in for free by the looks of it, so that's good. I think that's actually come out already. The new stuff. But yeah, cracking game.
Cracking.
Read my review on BigRedBarrel.com.
Still haven't forgiven him for turning his back on VR, but hey.
PlayStation did it first.
Yeah, to be fair, Coleman's got a point. And my last one is Tactical Breach Wizards. So this is the kind of the turn-based strategy game that kind of is a little bit of a pastiche of kind of games like XCOM, but with wizards who are all a bunch of dropouts, and use their wizardly and otherworldly powers to manipulate the world around them and have a jolly good laugh doing so. It's a game that's got a great sense of humor. One thing I really like is that you can kind of rewind, essentially. One of the things that's put me off this kind of tactical series of games before is that and Tim, I think this is probably why you like them, is the kind of the risk reward that could all go absolutely wrong if you just make one false move. To me, that always made me disengage with it a little bit. Whereas this kind of, there are mechanics where you can kind of rewind or kind of preview what the moves are going to be. And to me, that actually kind of helped me experiment more in a way that I probably wouldn't do with kind of a normal strategy game such as this, where I could try different combos of spells or different approaches to things and didn't feel like I just kind of peed away like half an hour of my life because I made one tactical mistake. So I really enjoyed it. It's a shame it hasn't got better Steam Deck compatibility at the time of blabbering at you, because I think it would be a really great fit for the Steam Deck, but they haven't quite got the controls there just yet. But Tactical Breach Wizards, really fun game, great writing, great core gameplay, well worth checking out.
I really like the aesthetic of it because it's got that sort of Rainbow Six industrial SWAT style, but wizards. And
yes,
like if you're watching the video, there's a very quick shot of it. There's a full cloaked wizard, but it's like high vis, and I find that endlessly funny.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It is dumb, but in a great way.
Yeah, I definitely want to pick this up at some point. I think it's a game that I would like, and even though I like the kind of risk reward type thing, I always prefer it when those type of games have a rewind function or an undo type thing. They can be a bit unforgiving without that sort of functionality, I think, basically. But yeah.
Cool. And it doesn't take itself too seriously, which a lot of that, obviously with the exception of Mario and Rabbids, a lot of games in this genre do take themselves a bit seriously, so it's quite nice to have something that feels like a bit of a breath of fresh air and actually kind of just lets you get on with the strategy bit without the whole kind of Sims colony madness that a lot of kind of the XCOM games get into. So
that's Astro Bot, Balatro, and Tactical Breach Wizards for your game of the year. We've got quite an eclectic taste of games this year, I've noticed. Yeah, and I'm about to add to that with Neva. So this one caught me completely off guard this year. Neva looks like a love letter to all things Studio Ghibli, where you play a young lady trying to guide your wolf friend through different stages of the year, through autumn, winter, and spring and summer, and trying to rid the world of shadow monsters. It's really, really cool. I love the style of it. It was a bit short. I think I did this in 5 or 6 hours, which, it's not too bad. It's I think I paid £20 for this game at launch because they had a discount going on. But really good kind of sort of hack and slash puzzler platformer. Lots of, as you're getting further towards the end of the game, lots of really kind of mind-bending puzzles. So they start putting you in different various mirror worlds and things that start playing with the physics of the game. And I think it's mainly the style I like more than the game itself, but I really did enjoy my time playing the game. And perfect Steam Deck game, which I assume perfect Nintendo Switch game. I haven't seen how that plays on the Switch, but very, very good. I recommend that to everyone. And I also recommend the Plucky Squire, which no, wait, that is the wrong game.
Yay! One take. One take.
Hit the wrong thing. It was next to it. And I also recommend Thank Goodness You're Here, which is another game that caught me off guard. No, not the Plucky Squire, Dan. This one also caught me off guard. Me and Tim went off to go to WASD, and this is one of the random games that was just set up on a Steam Deck. I picked it up, went, yeah, this looks fine. And then the more I played it, I went, oh, it's a kind of point and click, but not little adventure game where you're walking around a northern town, and is a very funny British comedy style game, but also it's my kind of humor. It's that kind of absurdist humor that I really, really enjoy. I had a lot of fun playing this game, and again, played very well on the Steam Deck. I did the review for this. I can't remember what I gave it. I think it was an 8.5 again. But yeah, I recommend it. Pick it up. Really, really good. I think it was the first review I put up on the new website, actually. And lastly, one of the games that was in my ones to watch, Tekken 8. Really, really good game. I am enjoying this very, very much. And I'm done with all the kind of single player content of this. Now I'm into more the ghost fights and the online fighting now, trying to get my ranks up and unlock all secret costumes and things. Yes. But this game, it's bizarre. Over the last few years, after the last few iterations, probably the last 4 iterations of Tekken, we've had more kind of focus on the story than ever before. Originally, you fight the arcade version of the game. At the end, you get a cutscene. Some of them are fantastical. Some of them are canon. You've got to kind of piece together what is the story and work it out from there. Now you literally get a story, and it is so anime influenced. It's ridiculous. Like, this game just turns into Dragon Ball Z towards the end. And just beat out Dragon Ball Z as the game of the year for it. But I really, really like this. It is a gorgeous looking game. It is very fun to play. I do feel the support for Tekken 7 out the gate there was a lot more. Like, there was more DLC and stuff coming and more fighters coming. This one, we've only had the 3 fighters. I think they've just announced season 2 of content. I don't know what that is yet, though. But one of the cool things about this, you do the story mode, you finish that, and then they announced the 3 new DLC characters, Eddie Gordo, I forget the Polish character's name, and Heihachi. And then they just released a brand new story mode that you can play through, that concurrent to the original story mode, that then throws in these 3 characters. Even though you've not paid to unlock them yet, you can just play those games to try them out, see if you like them, and play through this other bit of story. So I hope they continue doing that as you go forward with the game. But yeah, Tekken 8, really, really good. If you're a fighting fan, I recommend it. If you're a Tekken fan, you've probably already got it. If you're Tim, you're probably going to nick it off me and wait to buy it in a sale at some point. But I recommend Tekken 8 although, there are bits that I've not got along with mode-wise, like there's the little chibi characters in the arcade and all these kind of things. But I just think I need to give that a bit more time. Yeah, I'm doing competitive stuff at the minute, but I will get to the other modes and see if they kind of catch me in the same way. But yes, my 3 picks are Neva, thank goodness you're here, and Tekken 8. Quite an eclectic lot.
We've got quite a good mix of games this year, I think.
Yeah.
I thought so. And
goodness knows what's going to plop out this year. But no, it's a whole lot. It's a honking lot of good games right there.
Mm-hmm.
Play some of those. Guarantee you'll have a good time.
Yes, and let's say
my promise to you, dear listeners: you spend your money, you'll enjoy some fun times.
These aren't Big Red Barrels Game of the Years, the Golden Barrels, or anything like that. These are just our picks of 3 random games that we liked, that we think you would enjoy. They're not necessarily our games of the year out of everything, because we try to make sure we've all got something different. So we've got something to recommend you. Otherwise, we're all standing here going, we like Star Wars, we like Astro Bot. It's not as exciting.
Indeed. So that's it. Those are our best games, our favouriteest games, as you were, of 2024, and the ones that we chose to watch. And the next episode that's going to be steaming down the intertubes is going to be our ones to watch for 2025. I've tried to keep mine a bit more sensible this year, I'm afraid, because there isn't any obvious comedy lulls in the AAA vein or quadruple A, vein of Skull and Bones. So that's coming next, but that'll be after the new year. So by which point we would have completed this circumnavigation of the sun and about to embark on the next one. So thank you for joining us for 2024, if indeed you did, or at least some of it, even if it's just for this episode. Thank you for listening to us both in 2024 and all the years that went before it. We hope to bring some more, at least moderately acceptable entertainment. There's a promise you can take to the bank. Moderately acceptable entertainment for you in 2025. And hope you all have a very lovely new year. And look forward to being in your ear holes and in your face head in 2025. But I think that's it. All that's left for us to do, chaps, is to remind our listeners that I've been Dan.
I might have been Tim.
Looking at the timeline, I'm in Devon right now.
Wow. Nice. Yeah. Earth 616 Coleman. Golden timeline Coleman is in Devon.
Twit.
Yep. Really, I don't need to know what you're doing in your downtime, mate, but that's great. Good for you. Good.
Arcing ropes a web.
Lovely. Nice. I'm going to go now, and I think we should all go as well. Thank you so much. And until next time and next year, dear listeners, doodle bye.
Boy.
The podcasting goodness that you just heard. Why not roll on over to BigRedBarrel.com for more podcasts, news, reviews, and videos from the biggest, reddest site on the internet, BigRedBarrel.com.
Bad escort missions are bad because they're bad. Any bad mission is bad, but a good mission is good. And if you make a good escort mission good, it'll be good. Like, it's not the case of just inherently bad. It's whether good ones are good